it's truly such an honor to chat with the three of you today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's wonderful to hear.
All right, let's hop in. So as I was saying, this film is an important one. It's very needed. And so is just seeing representations of sex and intimacy on screen. It unpacks a lot of the shame and the guilt we experience, especially as women, because of the lack of conversation around pleasure, around intimacy, and the reality that, we haven't really seen healthy examples on screen. So if you don't mind me asking, I would just love to know, what have all of your experiences been learning and unlearning about sex and intimacy from film?
I'll go first. Yeah, why not? I thought KE did an amazing job, or writer, of how seeing how intimacy and sex almost begins with conversation, and it's the letting each other in bit by bit, and that dialogue, in this film starts quite early on before we really see physical intimacy. And I thought that was beautifully captured, because that really enlightened me in terms of like my engagement with intimacy, and how, it starts from conversing and understanding one another, and knowing what we come up against in life, and how we see ourselves. And that's where the kind of magic, I think that's what begins to happen first in this film. And you get to somehow see the crescendo of it, and the kind of, the realization of allowing those conversations to happen, and those allowing ourselves to see where we are with all of that. So I was really happy to see that captured in the script, let alone be involved.
That's beautifully said. It's incredibly sexy when Leo and I think Nancy feels the same way too. The way that he has such a authentic charm to him. Like, he is so beautifully sincere, even though he's doing this as a job. He gives such a piece of his soul to what he does, and creates such a safe environment. And that's what we all need in the bedroom, or on the couch, or wherever you are with your partner or partners. You need to feel safe. You need to feel like you can have conversations, because sex intimacy is like we're so up here. And if we need to get out of here. And in order to do that, we need to talk. We need to vent. We need to figure it out together.
Yes, it's so true. I mean, and for Nancy, she's put herself into a situation that's extremely dangerous for her. She feels terribly threatened, and kind of but she's chosen it. But when it's like magical thinking, she's imagined it, and she's imagined herself in it, but she's had no idea what it would actually feel like. So when you see her in actual time experiencing the thing that she's put into motion herself, her terror, her absolute terror, you realize that it's an incredibly anarchic thing to do, and it's tearing down every preconception that she's ever had, not only about sex, sexuality, intimacy, sex work, etc., but about herself. So it's an extraordinary thing to watch this woman kind of giving birth to herself in a new and different way, only because of the agency of this young man, whose curiosity about her and in her is so awakening, and in the end so arousing.
Yeah, exactly. It's really empowering to watch. And I think shame too is a big part of this film. And
huge. So you should speak about shame.
Yeah, generational shame, and the different shames that are being experienced here, which are very different. Leo is very confident in his, in his skin and his sexuality, but he's carrying around so much shame from that his mother imposed on him. And with Nancy, I mean, there's unfortunately so many Nancys out there that you just want to shake up, give a hug to, say it's okay. Like, you deserve this. You deserve pleasure. Deserve sexual pleasure and the pleasures of life, because they're connected.
Mm-hmm. You know, there are two things, it's something I love about each of the characters, you know, and that is one of the reasons we love watching it, is that Nancy is somebody who has decided to make a choice for herself that she could easily not have made. And so you love her and you love watching her because she has always fit into the same boxes, and suddenly she decides she's going to break out of that, you know. And Leo, I think that the shame that Leo holds makes him all the more beautiful, because he has chosen to transform himself and to use the thing that he has and to not sit inside that shame, but instead to like open to help other people open up to those parts of themselves. And to me, like, watching two people like that interact, you know, what a great joy. You know, you asked before, like, what do we think about, you know, what have we learned about sexuality and sex and intimacy on film? And for me, it's a really complicated exploration every movie, because the act of making a movie is voyeuristic, and yet I'm interested in what sex feels like rather than what it looks like. And so for me, that I wish that we talked more about that in the world, is like, this isn't about how it looks to have sex, and we do so much of that. That's what our whole industry is built on. But what does it actually feel like to have sex? That's when we start to understand what's possible for us, I think.
Wow, that is profound. I have chills. That's an incredible way of putting it. And what you're saying reminds me of the scene when Leo's talking about, you know, the joy he gets from watching his clients experience pleasure. And it's like the least sexual way of describing a sexual act, because it's from such a beautiful place, and it's from a place of, this is a part of life and something that we shouldn't be ashamed of. And it's taking like that, like you're kind of saying, that voyeuristic sort of exploitative, I didn't say that right, but, you know, like, kind of way in which we show and depict and talk about sex on screen.
But he also gets off on that. Like, one thing about talking about pleasure and sex is, like, there's all different ways of, you know, that people get off and that they find pleasure. Like, and that's great to see. Like, people do love watching someone else receive pleasure. Like, that is a great, excellent, freeing idea. Do you know? Like,
yeah, truly.
Yeah.
I also live for just this type of film in general, you know, two people in a room being extremely vulnerable, allowing us as the audience to be vulnerable, to open up, to ask questions, to explore, to digest and discuss, and all the good stuff that we love about filmmaking. I can only imagine, as storytellers and artists, you know, creating this intimate setting must have taken a lot of trust. It must have taken, you know, creating a very collaborative environment. I would just love to hear more about the process and just the relationship between the three of you when making this film.
Well, so if you were in charge of that, really, you led that. I mean, we came to you, you know, sort of ready, didn't we? Really, I mean, we had all our sort of tools at our disposal, but you were the one who created the space. That little rehearsal room we had 5 days in, that when we left, we felt like we were leaving the womb again. It was like terrifying. We had to go to somewhere else. But you should speak to that, Soph. So
yeah, it's, you know, you have to do all sorts of different levels of work with different actors, and these two came like so fully prepared and had done so much incredible work. So we really got to step into that room and build a working relationship and a trust in that space, and explore ideas like what we're talking about now, you know, these underlying ideas of the story, because the script was ready and they were ready. So it was really just, what extra layers can we find? And I guess it was really important to me that we built ourselves, you know, we knew what we were doing. So when we stepped onto set together, we were ready to lead as a group. you know, rather than oftentimes I think you can come onto set as even as a director, but also as the actors, where the set's operating and you just kind of step into it. We definitely didn't want that. We wanted the feeling, and these two definitely had that they led that set. They came on and the filming happened around them. That's what's important about this kind of film, the performance. And these guys, because we were filming, you know, we were away from home, all of us. And so we were in this little, you know, we were in Norwich all together. It was in lockdown. And so we got to just really hone in and focus on this, on all the bits that many of us really love about how two people interact with each other, what's going on for them, go into their backstory, think about bodies and how we present them, all of those things.
Yeah. Oh, I like, it was so, I had kind of like a very sort of cathartic response to this film. I could just feel that. It's like the energy that was created. And yeah, I don't think there's anything better than, it felt very much like a play to me, which I eat up. And I also felt sometimes I feel like this way in the best movies where you almost feel like you shouldn't be there. Like it's such an intimate setting and so much is being revealed in such a beautiful, authentic way that you're like, oh, should I be watching this? Like, I'm like a creepy fly in the wall right now. Because there was such a beautiful connection between the two of you. But yeah, congratulations. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I could talk about this film for hours and hours on end. It was truly lovely. And like I said, very important. And I'm happy that I feel very grateful that all of the Nancys in the world can watch this film and maybe start to go on that journey, or at least talk about it a little bit. And I mean, how cool is that? So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.